Wow. I just love Chronics, my goodness.
He is the one now.
Isn't it? Oh my God. Yeah, just such a lovely sound, and the words and the whole vibe. It just, it just opens your mind, doesn't it? Yes. So we
It's the best thing to happen to Jamaica since Bob Marley, and that's a big thing to put on this guy's shoulders. But that he deserves
big
that respect.
shoes to fill, man. Oh my God. Yes, I would go with that. Very, very, very special talent, I feel.
Lyricist, vocalist, everything.
Yes, very much so. Right, this is Radio Diamond, Imani Speech Show, and we have the fabulous David Shiloh, who is a coach, a mentor. He works with children in particularly, difficult situations, and he's going to talk to us tonight about, relationships, family life, and also he's going to give us the secrets to what guys don't want you to know, but we will go into that a little bit later. So David, as we were talking about, the last question we were talking about was how men and women are looking at the package, the external, and not the internal. What would you say from obviously looking at looking at it from, say, the children that you work with, and you sort of look and think, okay, if they had this, if they had that, or if the parents of these children, or say, what would you say would be the things that where should they start with their values? What should people be looking for in their ideal partner? Because they're always going to the package is always, the outside is always going to be there. But what do you think they should, when they've finished looking at, I like the look of this person, what's the next thing they should do before they get too involved?
I'd say get to know the person as a friend, know their character, their ambitions, aspirations, how they are. If you're a female and speaking to a male, what's the perceptions on a female? Is it all about the physical? Are they looking for someone to love, to cherish, or just looking for a good time? I think that those are the key factors.
But what about if, because sometimes men are quite good talkers, aren't they? They can be quite charming. How can a woman sift past the charm and all that, and find the real man?
What's really funny, you mentioned 20 or so years ago.
Yeah.
I would say back then, I would definitely say, a lot of charm was what's required. But like I said before, nowadays, sadly, it doesn't even require too much charm.
Really?
If you look the part, for most young women nowadays, that's sufficient. They will bypass a lot of the negativity. And it's almost like the standards have dropped now. It doesn't even require too much.
Really? For young women?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So basically a guy can just look nice and that's all, that's the criteria, that's it?
Yeah, obviously, yes, to have some kind of
are we talking about young people? Are we talking about across the board?
I'm saying young people. I would say as you go, say 20 years ago, guys definitely had to be more clever with their tongue, what they would say, and what they would not say as well.
Wow.
And there's a term now in the celebrity world or the sports world, specifically stateside, we talk about side chicks. Having a side chick, say 20, 30 years ago, was definitely the norm. That's one of the codes that I'm breaking right now. Having a side chick was the standard thing that you did. And males would keep that within their circle. Let's say you go around with a group of friends and you all go out together, socialise together, male and females all socialising together. You'd all know your secret, but it was something that was never shared.
Wow.
But if it was on the other side, let's say for argument's sake, females were doing the same things to a male, it was regarded as very unacceptable.
Well, this is the thing as well. I mean, women, I feel that possibly, obviously hearing this, that women, young women are tolerating anything so long as it comes in a nice package is quite a sad to hear that. But it's always almost as though women, back in the day, women were kind of like forced to it's almost like if a woman's relationship or marriage wasn't, she was seen as, you can't keep your man. So women always felt that they had to make it work. They had to do everything that they could to make their marriage or their relationship work. And I feel, I don't know if you feel there's any truth in why women maybe kind of tolerate or go through things that maybe a man probably wouldn't put up with? Or again, would you say that, or that's all changed as well?
I think in the past, like you said, women would do everything they could to try and make a relationship work. Whether they forgive the man's infidelity, forgive other things more seriously, domestic situations as well, they forgive. They'll try everything they could. And eventually the man himself would make the decision that, I'm not interested anymore. I'll move on to somebody else. And then eventually the woman would go for the heartbreak and meet somebody else. That might not work out, and that cycle would continue. And that's a cycle that I'm talking about, that would eventually affect those children in that particular family unit. Seeing all these different guys coming in, and they would tend to be classified as his uncle, and call him uncle to begin with. Obviously, that child would know that he's dating their mum, and it might not work out, and that pattern of behaviour is what I'm saying definitely has affected a lot of young people now. They've seen that kind of behaviour, that pattern of behaviour, so their thinking on relationships has become distorted. But that, and then all the other stuff that they see in the media as well, has brought about what we see now.
So would that affect both boys and girls in the same way? The sort of revolving door relationship thing going on with the different, lots of different partners maybe coming in and out.
I wouldn't say the same way. I would say it definitely affects both. In different ways, but definitely affects both. And I would say it has a very, very negative effect. I think where boys are concerned, they almost tend to repeat the pattern of behaviour. It sounds crazy because you see your mother going through a situation, struggling by herself, that you wouldn't do it. But you tend to find that the males tend to do exactly the same thing. I mean, you see it stateside now. You look at a lot of these young rappers or those that are in the music business, and they'll talk about how much they love their mum so much, but then they'll be rapping on their songs how many women they've got, referring to them as the B word and so on and so on. So it's amazing that although they see the mother struggling, it does not change their pattern of behaviour towards females.
So, because I remember a young rapper. I don't know if I can say their name, but it was all over the news. I saw he was on a talk show and he was talking about his dad. Was quite violent to his mum and something like that. But then he went ahead and he did this. This is very public. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was very, very public. And he did exactly the same thing, even though he was on this talk show saying, he was with his mum as well, and he was saying, he bought, balls that, he thought that was awful and blah, blah, blah. But he later did it in a very public way. And would you say it's a psychological thing where, it's, although, consciously he doesn't like it, but do you think subconsciously it's buried there down below, and obviously it's coming out in this awful way as it did?
Yeah, definitely. I think that what you see in life definitely numbs the shock value of certain behaviour. The first time you see it, the first time a child witnesses a domestic violence incident, it'll probably be a shock to them. As they see over and over and over again, they become numb to it. So for them to do the same pattern of behaviour through frustration, because domestic violence tends to be a man who's frustrated, and the only way he knows how to do it, or female. I want to put that down to males because both do it.
Yeah, I was about to say now, there's a lot of men who are very, they're very, very, I get calls on that, with men who are saying that they've been abused by their wives.
Yeah.
And girlfriends.
Yep, I've heard that too.
I mean, are they actually being physically, are they like really hurt and in a bad way, or is it that, when I say that, I mean, are they like scared? Are they thinking, oh my God, this woman could do this or do that, or she's so strong she could really hurt me? Or is it that they are, is it like, this woman is doing a little slap here and there? What is actually going on from what you understand about women being violent to men?
I think when it comes to the males, I think they're conditioned, or their thinking is, I won't hit a female. So when the female hits them through frustration, they may tolerate the first time. And obviously, once you tolerate something, it's going to escalate and get worse. And I think that's what happens. It just gets worse. And that person obviously thinks, oh, that same scenario where I love them, so I'm still trying, or maybe they've invested a lot of financial things into the relationship, namely a house, a mortgage. They don't want to simply walk away from the situation. So they stay in the situation until when it becomes impossible.
Wow. So there's a lot, I would say a lot going on. Would you say as well, that when we talk about this, obviously in the schools or the way where you work with the children, what ethnic groups, not sort of, this saying it's just one group or whatever, what would you say that, in your estimation, where's all this coming from? Is it coming from one group or many groups? Or
most of the kids, the children that I work with, tend to be of colour, so black children. And I think that so I'm happy that you actually mentioned that, because I think that there is a difference in, say, Western society and the black community. I think where the black community is concerned, males have a really heavy burden that they have to carry. And that's what I think a lot of females need to understand. When you're dealing with someone of colour, they have a lot to do with, whether it be racism, financial woes, trying to fit into a Western system in regards to work. And when a guy is struggling in those areas, he definitely gets distracted, and almost like having more than one female, being dishonest, because let's be honest, people say there's so many different names for someone who is not, who cheats, so to say. Someone who cheats. They're called Casanovas, players, so there's so many different names that are given. And once you give a title to something, it takes away the shame factor. Because another thing with males, we tend to, when we have friendship, we talk about loyalty. Loyalty is big. Even whether the person's a hard-working person or the person's got like street mentality, loyalty is very, very important.
Among
very
men?
Important. Among men.
Wow.
But yet, it's acceptable to be disloyal to your partner.
Wow.
Because really, if you're cheating on someone, you're a liar. If you're really a Casanova or a player, then you can openly say to a female, you're not going to be the only one, and she accepts it. Then you can give yourself that title. But once you're having to cheat and hide numbers and pretend you're going to be somewhere where you're not, if you look in the mirror when you're by yourself, all males can hear this right now, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack, but you're simply someone that lies. Because if you had a male friend who was consistently telling you lies, it would be unacceptable. But yet, it's the norm that as guys, this is what happens.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So, it's funny. What I wanted to kind of backtrack with you on is when I asked you the question about groups. Where is it coming from? And you said in the Western world, and you said black men. And the thing that gets me is, we're like 3, 4, maybe 5 generations in the Western world, yeah. And as black people, we still feel outside of that, as in, because do you see what I'm saying? It's like there is that feeling that there is still, it's not much different than when people came over here as immigrants. And I don't know if that's what you were saying. You were saying you felt that, black men had a different life in the Western world than other men of other races, yeah? Yeah,
if you're brought up in your normal habitat, let's say you're English and the world is your oyster almost, because you're not going to be going to a different race in order to find work and so forth and so forth. I mean, I know I'm trying to choose my words carefully because we can go into a whole separate topic, but this definitely is connected to how a male will behave. So let's say a male is struggling, which tends to be the case. It's not as easy for a black male to find work and to get along in Western society.
I get told this all the time.
So how does he comfort himself? Okay, he may have a partner that may be sufficient for a certain time, but maybe he's struggling, and the partner's telling him about, we need this, we need money. What's happening? Why can't you? So on and so on. And before you know it, he begins to think of this partner that was everything to him at one point as being part of the problem now, because she's nagging, she's carrying, telling about things that he really knows that he feels he can't do nothing about. And when he meets the so-called side chick now, she's telling him everything that he wants to hear. You're wonderful, you're great. She's not invested anything in the relationship as such. So she can afford to be the nice girl. A little bit like how mother said to me that when the father comes along every 2 weeks when he decides to turn up, and you may come with a gift for the child. The child's very excited.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Daddy.
Daddy's everything. And poor mummy is there. She's angry. She's thinking, I'm there with you every single day. I'm feeding, working hard. You know what I mean? Struggling to make ends meet to give you what you require. And your dad turns up whenever he feels like it. And you're jumping for joy. It's the same thing with a male. He's in a relationship. Everything's wonderful, but they're struggling in certain areas. Specifically the male. And so how does he feed his ego? He feeds his ego by having the side chick.
So it's
the
grass.
One of the reasons.
The grass being greener on the other side. Because I suppose if you feel, I mean, because what it sounds like for a lot of black men. I mean, I don't know if we can say all. I doubt if it's all, but certainly, would you say a larger number? Would you say a larger feel a bit like they're in a cage? They're trapped.
Males want to admit it. Males want to admit it. It's the kind of it's a male pride scenario where you're struggling. You may try to heal that struggling, partying, you know what I mean, using substances that may, you know what I mean,
to try and null the pain of it.
To ease that pain a little bit. And obviously another female comes into that equation too.
So basically, would you say that it could really be anything? It could be obviously finding another female might be easier for certain types of men. So if you find it easier to numb the pain of a female, and you're able to access another woman, then that might be something. Somebody else might use alcohol. Someone else might use become a workaholic, or somebody else might become a gambler, or just different things.
Fill that gap, yeah.
But would you say that for most black men, it would be the other woman? Would be
I hate to put I don't know, most black men.
Yeah, I don't either. But
I would just say a lot of
men
general.
Period,
but
men period. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to kind of, I think, it's probably good to open it up, but because we're looking at a specific problem in a specific community, so I suppose that's why. Yeah. Okay, so it could be anything, but whatever's the easiest option for that individual, that's what they will use that to numb the pain rather than deal with the pain itself. And
men definitely have egos, believe me, and it's the ego and having a female is a tool that men do use to feed that ego. So you may be feeling rubbish about a lot of other things. Maybe on the work front it's not great at the moment. Other areas may not be functioning, but at least you have those little comforts.
Yeah, and I can imagine that that would be, it's a nice thing to have somebody feeding your ego and making you feel good about yourself. And obviously, if the other person indoors is not able to do that because you're both struggling together, you're both in the boats together sinking. And I suppose, but is that fair though? Is that fair that, the woman that is by his side is been loyal for all these years, she's still wanting to save things, and the man has decided, this is too hard?
It's not fair. No.
So does it come down to him being weak? Does it come down to the man being a bit weak then? Or...
Yeah, you could say that. But also bear in mind that, as I said before, the media glorifies those things anyway.
Yeah, let's talk about music. The media. Yeah, the media.
And so on, and it's almost like the norm. It's expected. If someone that's he's a bit of a womanizer, there is with another chick again or another girl again. And nowadays, I would say it's definitely even more now, more so than any other time.
Wow.
I mean, the classic Donny Hathaway track that you played, you don't even really hear songs like that made anymore.
No.
When you think about the way music has changed drastically, I remember there's a time when someone like Prince was regarded as being X-rated, and you listen to music now, what he was doing years back is nothing. It tells into insignificance.
Wow. So the music is a big part of it. It's funny, I was
Music is
talking to
powerful.
someone about the
Believe me.
music. Yeah, wow. So
How often do you drive around or walk around and see young people with what they have in their ears, headsets? It's almost like a drug for them as well.
So they're
They listen
programming.
to that music all day, every day. They've got the music playing, and there's so many ways of getting hold of music right now, so that you can feed that habit every day. And what they're listening to most of the time is repetition. It's about money, about girls, about power, etc. A lot of braggadocio business going on.
So, Ralph, do you feel celebrities have, some responsibility? Because I remember one of the celebrities, I think it was, might have been Rihanna or Beyonce, I'm not sure, but they were saying that they were doing their art, and they didn't feel that it was their job to be a role model to the children and the young people. They felt it was the parents' job to be the role model for their children. But obviously, like you say, they're listening to these songs with these lyrics, and even from what I understand, the beat of the music has been changed, to seduce people into. And if we're talking about on a spiritual level, it's actually inviting entities. And I know anyone listening might say, "What the hell is this? What is she talking about?" But music is more than just, words and some instruments, isn't it?
It's got power, a lot of power.
Yes.
The sad thing is that most people, unfortunately, we live in a fast food generation where everything is fast. There's not much thinking that goes into anything. We just accept anything that comes our way. This is the new instinct, so I'm going to listen to it. This is a new instinct, so I'm going to watch it. Whether or not it's unedifying or not. So there's not much deep thinking there, and not much deep thought.
Wow.
Right? Whenever I'm in a conversation, I can either look at it as a casual conversation, or I say real talk. Real talk means that you're thinking about what you're saying. You're thinking about what you're seeing, about what you're hearing on a daily basis, whether it's edifying or non-edifying. And the more you open yourself up to those kind of elements, that's when certain things don't become attractive anymore. The outer shell doesn't become as important. You watch what you put in your system, what you eat, and that's when you become more of a spiritual person, and you're more of a deep thinker, and certain things become unattractive.
It's so funny.
Sorry, but I was going to say, but going back to what you said about what I was say about celebrities, I don't necessarily believe. I think in the ideal world they would be accountable and still responsible for what they're doing and what they're putting out there. But I think that would be a fairy tale. Unfortunately, the world is not a very kind place, and money talks. And whatever sells is acceptable, especially now. And everyone who's looking and seeing can see that that's the situation right now. Whatever sells is acceptable. So the teachers, and the most important teachers in a young person's life, are their parents.
So what if the parents too have been taken over by all this media hype and all the stuff that's going on there?
That's where
and is that the case? I
definitely is the case. I think you've hit the nail on the head right there. A lot of the parents, they listen to the same music because they're the children as well. So it's a double-edged. So they're watching the same kind of programs as well that buy into that whole craziness that causes pain and sorrow eventually.
So, it's just, I'm just thinking about, say, 10, 20 years ago, where we are now. And I remember when a lot, the talk shows first started to come out, and then you had the Jerry Springer. Would you say things like that? Would you say things like that would have an effect? Was maybe the beginning? That was like now that's kind of innocent compared to what maybe people are tuned into. But would you say that? Can you pinpoint a time, as from your point of view, where the craziness started to hit people's homes and people started to buy into it?
I think that, and that's another good point that you've made there in regards to TV shows or media periods. I think they're very powerful entities. When you look back on TV in itself and all the rules and regulations that were in place, you go way back. You're someone that likes to read a lot and look back on history and see how TV has evolved in in regards to barriers being torn down and then the effect that it's actually had on the wider society. It's amazing how powerful the media really is. And I believe definitely it's played a massive role in what's become acceptable now. Because a lot of what's become acceptable now would be frowned upon. And that's a very light term. It would be totally regarded as unacceptable. It's almost like now anything goes. I mean, if you go to take a child, for instance, going to see a movie in the cinema now, sometimes you have to double check, is that the right PG rating I put this child to? For a child.
So you're saying the PG's dropped as well?
PG is something else now. PG is probably what an 18 movie, 18 or over would have been in the past. Some of those movies, yeah.
So they're gently, and this is the thing, isn't it? It's all done, so it's like they say, you put the frog in the water and raise the temperature slightly, over time. Doesn't notice it. You do it straight away, the frog will jump out. So basically what you're saying is, over time, our standards for the movies for our children is dropping, and people are accepting it because and that makes sense, because it's like I remember when I was young, I used to hear the older people saying things like, back in the day it was so different, and you used to think, oh, shut up. And then now I think to myself, oh my God, because if you've been around for some time, you can see how things have changed, and and young people are oblivious because they were not there back in the day when things were different. So for them, they just know what they see. But if you're a bit older, you do know. You can look at the quality of things and think, this ain't right, or this doesn't look right, or like you say, you go to the movies and you think, well, PG wasn't like that when I used to go, to the cinemas. But so slowly, would you say things are it's happening in every facet of our life? I mean, I know you slightly touched on food and what have you, but in everything is the quality is changing.
Definitely has. And I'll go back to TV again. I would say, tell me a household that doesn't have a TV, and tell me a household that doesn't have a TV. Doesn't have a TV on. Well, there you go. Probably one.
I know. I think I am. Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same as well. I don't really do the TV thing, but most households have TV, and most conversations in the workplace or social conversations are based on what's happened on TV. And even if someone mentions the program to you, say, I've not seen that, I don't watch TV. You look upon as if, are you crazy? You don't watch TV? How do you not watch TV? Yeah. That shows you the power of the media and how powerful that is in the lives of many people. It's become part of their social life. Even if they have guests around, the TV is the focal point of the conversation, and it's the big elephant in the room. So children are watching TV
and it's
hours and hours, especially nowadays, especially where they're at that time, their mum's at work, or even sometimes two-parent households. The TV is such a powerful medium in that household that whatever the TV has on becomes the acceptable norm.
And I think as well, one of the things is the TV's gone bigger and bigger and bigger, and they've changed it from analogue to whatever it is now. And to me, as soon as they start changing, it's like when they change music from what was it, the records into CDs, and then they change. That's how they were able to change the sound. Yeah, it seems to me as though doing those types of things, it gives a license to maybe change a few things as well. That is going to cause maybe more addictions, and also as well with TV. What I notice whenever I am around anybody who has got a TV, you're watching something, and halfway through that particular show, they're showing what's coming on in an hour's time. So that it's almost like they capture you, as Chronix was saying there. It's like your mind is being captured, and you're probably 3 shows still later, still sitting there, watching TV and being programmed. And as well with children, you talk about the TV, but what about these phones? What about these iPads and things like that? Because our children do have them, and I've got grandchildren, and I get a little bit concerned about them being plugged into the mobile phone and the iPads and all the rest of it. What's your take on that?
It's just another level. It's taking things that much further. And I would still say it's almost like everyone can become a celebrity right now. People have their YouTube pages, they go on Facebook, they create this fantasy existence that most of the time what you see on Facebook is actually a smoke screen for unhappiness.
For sure.
And you find that those that are on it the most are those that have the most issues going on in their lives. So they paint this picture, this outside picture, and almost like live a fantasy existence on Facebook. And unfortunately, in regards to the young people, the sexualization that's going on their Facebook pages and all the other different media outlets that they're using has made things that much more serious. I think if parents knew what's actually happening out there, they would be very surprised.
Well, I hear
very, very shocked.
Yeah, with Facebook, when I go on, I find it's all, for me, I go on there and I put, it's all about, positive things, and I find people who's also talking about positive things, or also about, learning about, your history and just different things that makes sense. But would you say it's also a place where people can really be brainwashed and, mess themselves up?
Definitely. They're brainwashed, mess themselves up. It's used as a form of bullying as well.
Yeah, I've
you find people washing their dirty laundry out. I see so many negative things that are happening in black community as well, put on Facebook as entertainment to laugh at someone else's pain and sorrow, which I find very disappointing. I see so much of that now. And young people will put it on quite a bit as well. And I'll look at that person, look how they're behaving, whether it be females or males or both, or in broken communities that are struggling with poverty and so on. And then the new term for a lot of females now who are struggling by themselves, single mums, they've obviously had a very tough time and they've become a certain way. They have to toughen themselves up, trying to cope with the stresses and all the testing time that they go through being a single mother. They give them titles like, she's ratchet. And I find it amazing that males will laugh at a woman who's ratchet when they fail to be honest with themselves. How did that woman become ratchet in the first place? A woman tends to become use ratchet behaviour because of all the failed relationships, the failed promises of males who were only in it to win it, in a negative sense.
It's funny you say that. There is a chap on YouTube. I can't remember his name. I don't even know.
I probably know who you're talking about.
I don't think I should even say his name.
There's a few of them now.
Really?
Who seem to be really hard, specifically on women of colour.
Yes, I really don't get.
Such a hard, blaming them for all the ills in the world, all the problems that's out there with young men. It's all based on the woman who's simply doing the best that she can, with bearing in mind there's an absent father. And most women, they do try very hard to get the father to be involved. And I say sometimes as a detriment to the child's growth, because if you have a male, or if you have a child with a male who you know is negative, there's nothing positive going on in that particular male's life. Sometimes it's better that he stays out of the picture, and you rather surround your son with, say, uncles or other relatives or male friends if they are positive role models.
Wow. So, I mean, there's so we've talked about so much. We've still got those secrets to I know you've kind of dropped a few of them in between the comment. You've sort of you sprinkled the show with some of those, but I'm really enjoying this conversation. I've not really done a real talk type show before, and I'm really loving this, David. Really loving
Glad
this.
to hear it.
Yeah. What I thought we could do now is it's 11. Are you still able to stay on a little bit longer? Maybe.
Yeah, I
know you've got. Okay. I wanted to play another Chronics, Alpha and Omega. I really love this.
No worries.
And,
anything from Chronics is good for me.
I just love the whole whatever. So again, we're just going to take a little break. We'll have to probably do a couple of jingles because we're coming up to 11 o'clock as well. But on the other side, David Shiloh will be back, and he will be sharing some of those secrets, and he'll be sharing some more wisdom. And I'm enjoying it, and I'm pretty sure you are too. So we're going to play Chronics, Alpha and Omega, and enjoy.
What do you see the Babylon system is?
Babylon system is a vampire, deceiving the people day by day, building church and university. Because now, when you check the church now, the Bible is good. The Bible is good that in Christ coming, we will be King of Kings and Lord of Lords, right? Now when we look up, we say I Selassie.
Sent by the king, watch them wandering when me fly down far. We step on the beast and kick down with him like a slide down bar. We burning the system, we tell the youth if we fight gun war. Uplifting me sister, tell her Selassie, I love Tsar. Shiloh Wally, Babylon the system falling. But this is just the beginning, beginning of the grand finale. Finale because eventually we get the cause. So we stand up tall and we gang up cause united. We stand divided, we fall and we love. Whoa, oh, walk with the Prince of Peace, Selassie are the leader. Praises be to the kings of kings, Alpha and Omega. Oh, Selassie are the leader. Oh, Alpha and Omega. Guiltiness is on their face and bloodshed on their shoulders. Turn from your sinful way, yeah, before lightning strike all over. Well, if a atrocity where your cause can get to you, then you have the other city if you come give me gun for shoot. And not chat how you like the city, well this is the ugly truth. When you bring all the guns come give me give it to my recruit. Big revolution, one time the guns them turn pan the old politician. We bring it come in the first place, you should have fun education. We make the youth them learn instead of buy ammunition. And you want come run the next turn, go run up under your bed. Boy, put your hand on your head. Me terrible and me dread, corrupted politician fit dead. Boy, want me to coral garden, don't active valley garden. Coming like a pre every garden, no revolution reach every garden. Go put this up in the greener, me want it reach every reader. Finna live like Haile Selassie, you know fit to be Chronic's leader. Well, walk with the Prince of Peace, Selassie are the leader. Praises be to the kings of kings, Alpha and Omega. Hear the children say, oh, Selassie are the leader. Oh, Alpha and Omega. Well, never gonna stop until my people are free. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be. In the last days when the youth them are preached and terrible. Give thanks and praise for the kings of kings. Praises be to the Prince of Peace. Now stop give thanks and praise to Alpha and Omega. Empress Menina.
Is that the best way to reach people in your opinion?
I am not trying to reach people. I am what I am. See, and there's a lot more people like me out there, which is my people. So I'm not trying to reach a strange people. The people that I'm reaching is my own people. We all know the same thing. We come in this time. It's our people. It's not nobody else people.
Kings and Queens. I'm really loving this show. It's the Imani Speak Show on the fabulous Radio Diamond Broadcasting Network. And we have the fabulous David Shiloh, who's been dropping gem after gem after gem. And, you know, he's still with us. He's going to be with us a bit longer. I'm so happy about that. So, David.
Sister Imani.
Yes, so I mean, you've really kind of gone through all the different things that's gone on and brought us right up to the how things are now for our young people. And what I really want to with this segment, for as long as you can be on here for, really just go through women and how. Because I find that this is a big subject that keeps coming up. How can a woman in the 21st century, before actually I go there, what has the internet and the social media done to relationships? Has it enhanced relationships, or has it made it even more complicated than it ever was?
Before I go into that, I'm going to say I love the way you refer to your audience kings and queens, because that's a major flaw that's missing from, I would say, especially from the black community, where women don't understand that they are queens, and the men don't understand that they're meant to be kings. Yes. They're not behaving like kings at the moment. Because if you're a king, you don't need to lie to your queen, because you're a king. You know that you are powerful. You don't need to lie to feed an ego. You don't need a side chick to have to feed your ego. You know who you are. You're comfortable in your own self. You know yourself. It's the same with the females. You're a queen, and a child is taught from the time she's little that she is a queen, and the only person that should share or coexist with her in a relationship will be a king, and a king needs to behave to show that he is worthy to be called a king. Just like a parent needs to. It's good to all the ones say you must respect me, I'm your father, respect me, I'm your mother. But respect should be earned on both sides. And there's a lot of broken people that walk around as adults who didn't get the right teachings when they were children, and so they perpetuate that same behaviour as adults in relationships. So knowing who you are, and that's why I said loving yourself, believing in yourself. When you think highly of yourself, you wouldn't want to be lying to someone, because you've got to look at yourself in the mirror every day. You won't be comfortable. When you love yourself and believe in yourself, and you know your self-worth, you wouldn't want to be behaving in a way that diminishes that. And what the internet has done, going back to your question, what the internet has done, it's opened the door and the gateway to anyone who wants to cheat, because now you don't even need to go anywhere. Now you can actually stay in the comfort of your own home, press a few buttons, and you're meeting people. You can even create perceptions of wealth, or how you're living, or who you are, or even what you look like. You know what I mean? There's so many things that you can do with the internet right now. It is crazy. So it's opened the doors for people who want to be dishonest and to so-called be players, or whatever you want to call the titles. I like to call that dishonest individuals or liars. And when you give yourself that title, if you're doing that kind of behaviour, or if the world was given that perception for people who do things behind someone's back and pretend that they are who they're not, then maybe it wouldn't be so attractive. But when you give it a title, it becomes acceptable.
When you say title, like, it's like when people say things like Jack the Lad, or he's a player. You know, because we say player, it doesn't sound very bad, does it? So no. You know, it's like, oh, he's a player. I mean, obviously, to the person who's being played, it's awful. But and like, I hear totally what you're saying. It's like it's not seen as that important. It's not seen as, you know, that little flaw in that person's character, or where they, you know, or the ego problems, or this. I mean, do you feel that it's self-esteem issues that cause people to behave like that as well? And you know what I think is a very important point for me to also mention. I've seen situations where young people who I work with, where the mother will actually talk about her son, say, "Oh, he's such a player, you know, there's so many girls." In a joking way. Mum is almost proud at that point, thinking, "Oh, it's innocent," not forward thinking and thinking, "Hold on a minute, that's how the pattern of behaviour begins." Yes. It becomes something that's accepted by your mother. Then what else would you think, apart from being comfortable with that self-image and that behaviour? Because the rest of the world's also going to find it acceptable as well. And it's funny. So it's almost like learned and accepted behaviour that you see going on all the time. Yeah. Sometimes without the mother even thinking about it. It's just become a norm in society that this is what guys tend to do. And we tend to say, you know, you do hear mothers and people saying, you know, like if they've got a cute son, they say, "Oh, he's going to break hearts when he grows up," things like that. Exactly. Yeah. And again, it's innocent, but then that is a program. That's a program. And it's like what you were saying earlier on. We're not thinking. People are not thinking. They're not, you know, like you're saying, they're not thinking. They're not sort of, the behaviour's there, you know, because the thought's there, and the emotions come with that, and then the behaviour. And people are not thinking beforehand, okay, this thought or this thing that I'm about to do, what is it going to do for me and my family, or my partner, or, you know, for myself? Just like you said, your self-esteem, your you know, loving yourself. How is that going to affect me in the longer term? And people are not thinking. People are just going along with the thought and the feeling, the emotion.
Exactly.
And that is what is running the world. You know, no one's thinking outside of that. It's just, this is how I feel, this is what came to me, and I'm going with that. And people don't realise that they can change, they can choose their thoughts, they can choose to behave differently from what they're being urged to do.
Exactly. But it's amazing you think that, say for argument's sake, a single mother who's been through that pain of broken relationships and men coming into her life, the infidelity, cheating and so on, that she would instill in her son, say, look at mummy, look what she's going through, you see the kind of pain that being unfaithful can cause to a woman. But that doesn't even tend to happen. What tends to happen is, for some reason, there's a bypass, but this is my son, it's my baby. I think women actually tend to spoil the sons and mollycoddle them and almost like they behave that way even more, because they're looking for that from a female. They go into a relationship and they want their partner to be their mum. And then when she doesn't do all those things, so I feel sorry for females, because the man wants you to be the mother, the lover, everything rolled into one. Rather than if it's so important to have a positive male role model. If a male role model is there, teach the man that your job is to love your partner, to make her feel cherished, to make her feel important, to make her feel like she's the only person that you see. So Donnie Hathaway classic that you say, that stems all those things. But that's like a bygone age now. That's no longer the fashionable thing.
So
to shower the woman with love and attention, to feel good about yourself, that you love your woman, you love your queen, and you know every day her happiness is your happiness, which is the perfect scenario. And that's what you should be in a relationship for, not just because what you can get out of it. She washes my clothes, she cooks my food, she's intimate with me when I want intimacy, and so on. And when that's not happening, I'm simply going to go outside and get it from somewhere else.
So that is a real, that's a real, a real problem, which again is, I don't think men are realising that is, because I think it's only after the effect, it's after the effect that I think people tend to think, oh my God, look what's happened, I should have done this, I could have done that, why didn't I, again. They don't think about what's going on. They don't think about the effect that is going to have on them, on and everyone around them. And then later on, it becomes, it becomes. But do you think then that people will go again and repeat the same scenario? Because
I think I would actually go even further and say there's been, as the generations have moved on, they've looked back at, say, their mum, who may have been a single mother, and thought, the reason why she's single because she wasn't doing everything that the guy wanted her to do. And I think females now, they're trying to do even more for their partners now. If I be intimate with him in every which way but loose that he wants, then maybe he'll stay with me. If I have a bigger butt, maybe he'll stay with me. If I do this, if I make myself physically more appealing to him in whatever way, maybe then he'll stay faithful and just want to be with me. If I can look the best that I can possibly look, and he won't look at anybody else. When none of those things are true. When a male has a so-called side chick, it's got nothing to do with him not necessarily loving the person he's with. It's basically simply to fill a gap that he's got in his life. Whatever that gap may be, like I said before, whether it be financial, emotional, all those things. Which is the reason why, like I said before, it's very important that when you're going to get into a relationship, if you are serious about a relationship, you want to be in a so-called serious relationship, you need to be with somebody who you know enough about. Just take that time to get to know that person. Yeah. And give the time of getting to know them for the cracks to be seen, because you can't be rushed. You're not going to know someone in a month. And nowadays, if young people, if they know someone for 6 weeks, it's like a year for them.
Yes, that is, yeah. I get that. Women are talking about their relationship, and I'm thinking, maybe a few years, and it's like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and they're devastated, and I'm like, devastated? You've only known this person for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable to me.
I think he's the one. Yeah, he's definitely the one. He seems so nice and blah blah blah. It takes time to know somebody.
People are saying they're enjoying the show, but they want to know these secrets that
they want me to be found somewhere.
Oh my God. But we will come to that, I'm sure. But, you know, we're definitely going to come to that. You're going to drop. But the thing as well, what I want to share with people, you will be coming on more regularly because, you know, one of the reasons why I want you on the show as well, not because you're very good at what you do and you're doing some great work out there in the community, but also because you yourself, you walk your talk, you are happily married. Yeah. For quite a while now as well. And this is the thing, I think it's so important to find, you know, a great couple, especially from our community, where, you know, they make it works and they're happy. And I think that is very important. It's very important for people to know that it can work. And I'm not telling your business or anything, but what would you say is some of the secrets that has made you, given you a successful marriage and, you know, with your beautiful wife?
Well, what I would say, and I'm going to actually do my own confession, I think that a lot of times it's very easy to come on and speak about relationships and say, you know, you're some kind of expert. I don't think there's any experts. I think that just like in life, as you live, you learn. And you either live to learn or you just exist. So if you're living and learning, and if you do have some kind of integrity, then you actually want to improve all the time. And I would say that in my past, quite a little past, I wasn't always Mr. Faithful at all. I would say I got relationships at a very early age. And yeah, I was
you know what?
Unfaithful.
Yeah, that is really good because it's funny. I had a group of people on maybe a couple of months ago, and a young lady had written a book about Mr. Wrong, and she brought on with her a reformed Mr. Wrong. So and I think when somebody has, you know, like you're saying, you've gone down that road and now you are on the other side where you are happy, you are, you know, living a lovely life, an ideal life. What most women would say, yeah, that's kind of, you know, that's what I want from my man. I want my man to be this type of man, and I want him to be with me and not have eyes elsewhere. And so you are in a very good position because you can see both sides, and this is where you can share these secrets that men might not want you to share, because, you know.
Correct, yep.
Yeah. So can you share for us, David, for women, what should they look out for if they say they're suspecting their man of cheating, or say they don't know say they don't know if the man's serious about them? What sort of things can they look for to say, right, this man is definitely serious about you and he wants to be with you?
I would say for a lot of guys, for a lot of men, they have a time limit. If a guy meets a girl and he likes her, I'm talking about physically likes her, thinks that she is, you know what I mean, exactly, you know what I mean, order. He's got all the necessaries that he's looking for,
right,
from a physical perspective.
On the outside, okay.
Yeah, he has a time limit. So if a guy's spending money, he's going to have a time limit. Even if most guys will boast and share this information with their friends or their brethren, as they want to call it, and they will be like, yeah, I met this girl, yeah, I've seen the girl, man, she's alright, blah blah blah. Kind of story short, they'll have a time limit, and the guys, their male friends will be asking, what, haven't you hit that yet? Haven't you been
hold on.
there
when
yet?
you say time limit, do you mean on?
They have a time limit. If the girls will not either give them what they want physically, you know what I mean, they're not going to be spending money on this girl for month after month after month, and she's still saying, oh look, I'm not ready yet. If he tries to be, you know what I mean, to get to phase 2, should we say?
Right. Okay.
So I would say that the key thing for a female is to let him wait. Keep it wrapped up, girl.
So can you repeat? Can you repeat that? Because we do have lots of ladies listening, young ladies as well. So would you repeat that?
If a guy's serious about you, he'll be patient and he will respect you more for keeping it wrapped up. That's a polite, family-friendly term. Don't let him get the cookie from the cookie jar until you know for sure that he's the one.
Wow.
It sounds old-fashioned to a lot of people, but trust me, if a guy is serious about you, he will wait. If anything, his respect for you and desire for you and so on will be even more. Better to let him see your intellect and your inner wisdom. Mm-hmm. That's what a man really and truly respects. He may say, look at the butt, look at this, all the physical stuff. That's the very shallow side of a male. That's like the childish little boy who sees a little toy and he wants to have everything that he wants, and he wants it now. That's the shallow side of a male. But the deeper side of a male, he's definitely looking. A man knows what he would call so-called wifey material and what he would call his side chick.
So basically, it's a psychological game that is being played. So
it's a game. Yeah.
Men will make women feel, because you hear all this talk of women are they're playing mind games or whatever if they don't give in or what have you. So would you say that it's a case of the woman, if she knows herself and if she loves herself, and she knows her value, then she will be able to wait and do the right thing, and he will obviously respect that. But how many women have that though, David? How many women, especially in today's world where, people are not really fed a whole lot on, loving themselves and all these etiquettes and these values that maybe were placed years and years and years ago. It's not really out there in the same way. How do women, what would you say to women, particularly young women, and women in general, how they can hold themselves into a high esteem and value themselves so they don't give themselves away too quickly to the wrong person?
I think I sympathise with young people now, especially young females as well. I think it's very challenging, like we said, because of media outlets, Facebook and so on. There's a lot of pressure to feel like you're a part of something. So for most young females now to have high standards regarding themselves, it will be very difficult, because friends will be like, "Oh, you serious? You can't be." We're waiting for old-fashioned. People, I've heard young people say, "How would you? If you don't sleep with a guy, how are you going to know if he can satisfy you or not?" And so on and so on and so on. I would go as far as to say that side chick intimacy and real intimacy between you and someone who you truly love, you actually have an emotional attachment to. There is no comparison, none whatsoever. And if people only understood the spiritual side of intimacy, they would never settle for the whole side chick, one night stand, casual acquaintance. They wouldn't bother with that. And I think it just diminishes from the woman's spiritual strength. I believe when a man and a female get together, you always leave a little deposit. And I'm not just meaning the physical side I'm talking about.
No,
on a spiritual basis, you allow someone to take a little piece of you away. That's why you see so many females are so depressed and so stressed out. Even if they may move on to somebody else, they still carry the baggage of the past. It's not that easy to just simply let go. Where society told them that once you just move on to somebody else, then all the problems are solved. It's not resolved. The problems still remain.
I totally agree with that. I really believe that a woman is created, the way a woman's body is made. This is one of the reasons why women do have a problem with attachment, to males, because the way the woman's everything goes inside. She's a receiver, so it's what I hear you saying is you have to be careful. You have to guard yourself. You have to see your body. It is a temple, and you have to be careful what you're receiving, who you're receiving, because if that person hasn't got your best interests at heart, this is where you can end up, like you say, being bitter, being what's that word you used earlier? The wretched woman?
ratchet shit.
Oh, ratchet, yeah. Wretched woman.
That's a really bad name to give to someone who's in pain. That's what I call it. Every ratchet woman, as I call them a ratchet woman, I call it a woman in pain. And the pain, those that have responsible for the pain are the same ones that are laughing at the situation. You know what I mean? The sad thing is when another female laughs at it as well, because even if you're okay now, it could be you in a few years' time.
There's that saying, isn't it? It could be you. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not a laughing matter at all, because you see, the thing is, it's affecting the community.
That's right.
And it is really sad to see, you know, broken women, broken children, broken men. And that's the thing as well. These men that are doing these awful things and saying these terrible things about these women, would you not say that they themselves have their own inner turmoil? Because there's a saying, hurt people hurt people.
Definitely, but I mean, it's miseducation and a misinformed self-identity.
Mm-hmm.
When you tell a child that a child is bad, eventually the child starts to do bad behaviour because they think, you know what, it's what you said about me. And it's almost like you can create that bad person or that bad behaviour by the words that you speak.
Mm-hmm.
Words are very, very powerful.
Yeah, words.
So self-affirmation is actually the same situation. If you don't know who you are, then you're going to be anything. Anything's possible. Anything's possible for someone who does not know who they are. If women understood that they are the bearers of life, how can the bearer of life allow themselves to be treated as anything less than a queen when you, without females, there's no life in the world? So the bearers of life, very special beings are females, and they're to be cherished, loved, nurtured. And those that are meant to be doing the loving and the cherishing and the nurturing, they themselves are lost. So they end up regarding the females as, I don't know if I can use the B word, but you know what I'm talking about.
You know,
and that's sex toys, basically.
If women were to really stamp down on this, say women were to really do all these things, that we're talking about, and really hold men up, you know, accountable for their behaviour, would it just came to me as you were talking there, would there be opportunity? Would people come together? Would people be able to come together? Would men change? Would men change because they realise that women are not going to tolerate this type of behaviour? And also, I want to ask you, David, what do you think the feminist movement has done for women? Is it made things better for women, or, you know, worse? I think I've asked two questions there. I don't know if that's too many questions.
I think
rolled into one.
I think feminine women can come across as ratchet with brains. And that being a sense a bit harsh, but they can almost become too. What's the word I'm looking for? Their femininity tends to disappear when they become feminist.
Right.
And I think that they can become a little bit confusing in the picture. I would say when a woman knows her own self-worth, if more women know their self-worth, they will say no to a lot of things that men require of them. And then men will begin to look at women in a different light. But that's asking for a lot. When the media is forever portraying a female and rewarding a female for being a sex object, you could say, or for her value to be based on what she looks like rather than what's on the inside, it's very difficult to fight against that. That's why it has to begin. It has to be in the home. And for those women that are already of age, that have been through that pain, if you want to escape the pain, you've got to change your thinking and begin to look at yourself for who you are. Life bearers, queen, very, very important in society.
So,
and you have to have your own self-value as well, your own self-worth. Don't let no man tell you what you're worth. You have to know your worth and not settle for less. I'm not being funny. People treat their material things more worthy than they treat themselves. If you're selling a vehicle and you feel your vehicle's worth 10 grand or 7 grand, whatever, you wouldn't allow someone to lower the price for you unless you were desperate for that money. You'd be like, this is the value of the vehicle and I'm not going to lower my price. But yet we lower our standards and the price of our value with our bodies, which is great. I totally agree with that. It's almost as though I think it's the emotional ghosts or the demons in the head and the emotional ghost baggage in moving around in the body. And insecurity as well.
Yeah,
insecurity,
which causes,
fear of being alone.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if you think back to years ago when they used to have that horrible word, I think that horrible word still exists, on a spinster. You know, women were actually treated badly by their families for not being, you know, for nobody choosing them to get married. So it was seen as, you know, being single as a woman back in the day was seen as almost like an embarrassment. So I think, and I would say that that's still in our psyche, I would imagine, which is like you're saying, people are scared. You know, women are scared to be single, or to, you know, what's going to happen now. You know, that I'm on my own. How am I going to, you know, what, you know, and also friends, and a lot of women as well. They feel their friends who are in relationships or married don't really want them hanging around. You know, this single person hanging around them, so they can feel a bit isolated, and sometimes, you know, I don't know if that might have an effect on why people...
Definitely has an effect. I mean, especially young people. I speak to many young people I work with,
yes, and
they say things like they feel pressured to be in a relationship because their friends was like, "I think you ain't got a man yet. I think you're still single."
And then what age are these young women? What
I'm
age?
talking about from 16, 19 to mid-20s.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure to be in a relationship, whether they feel they're ready or not, which is that situation.
You know what's interesting as well, as you said that, what I'm thinking about is, say 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago even, and you know, further back, women were groomed to get married at those ages. And I think about that now, and I think about where we are with young people now. What's your thoughts on that? Because back then, you know, women did get married, you know, at 21. It was like, you need to be married by now. Do you know what I mean? Back in those days. And was that a good thing against now that women, you know, young women are, you know, what's your thoughts if you get my drift?
If I'm really honest, there's almost a romantic notion of the past, how wonderful it was because everyone got married, they bought their own houses, and so on and so on. I would say infidelity was still rife back then. Right. And the women were basically the child bearers, the nurturers, the home keepers, and the men would go out and work. In some cases, the men would be at the betting office more than they'd be at work. And still the side chick still existed. But the notion was different then. Being married was a very important thing to have. There was almost like a stigma attached to getting divorced and to be separated. So nobody wanted to leave their husband and have the shame on the family because, look, you know, I mean, your marriage didn't work out, and so on and so on. It was almost like learned behaviour that this is what men do. So you have to be strong. You've got children to think about, and the women would just tolerate it. You'd see that where females are a lot more, there's a lot more vanity out there right now, where what you look like is so important. These poor women, they were just focused on the mothering side and the nurturing side and the home keeper, and they were just not even thinking about the physical appearance,
so
which probably didn't help. It probably didn't help the husband's fidelity neither anyway, you know what I mean? It's just kind of sad. But again, back in those days, there's a lot of pressures as well. Talk about pressures that we go through now in regards to black males. You can think back to those days, it was even more challenging. I mean, they came over here to make a better life for themselves, and then they found that they were not wanted. And a dog would be more welcome in properties in this country at that point. So, yeah. And
you know what's interesting? You said at that point, the thing that come to me straight away is they were not wanted, but they were tolerated because they came over to do a job that nobody else wanted to do. But what about the fact that their children, their offspring, their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, people like us, were not even considered. We were not even factored into the big plan that was put together at that time to bring people over. So it's almost like now, it's like we're this offshoot, this kind of unwanted legacy, if you will. And would you say that could be a major problem as well with why we're finding in our community there's so much lethargy in doing the right thing and pulling together as a community? Would you say
Yeah,
that? Because there is
say
nothing...
I'd say partly that.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say that when you go back 20, 30 years, I would say the children of that generation, those the offspring, the children that were born during that particular period,
Mm-hmm.
they would have seen mummy and daddy together, but they wouldn't see anything loving, any necessarily a loving relationship in regards to marriage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They would just see mum making the food, being the for the homemaker, the nurturer.
Mm-hmm.
But where was the love? Where was the passion? There was none of that was really seen.
Mm-hmm.
So you find a lot of those children when they grew up into adulthood, marriage was not on the cards. That was like out of the question, especially for the males. Like, that's boring. You're gonna get bored soon.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably visualizing their own fathers and how the father didn't show no interest in the mother, apart from when it was time to eat food or the clothes washed. You know what I mean? The mother actually almost became like a mother to the husband as well. So there was nothing attractive in the whole aspect of being married and being in a relationship, raising a family. So their thing was, you know what, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy my life. I got no time to be settling down. You know what I mean? Becoming a parent, because to me, the picture that I see, it does not look enjoyable at all.
Wow. You know, it just sounds like, oh my God, this is, yeah. But come on, there must be some good things. There must be aren't there some good role models out there? Even, okay, say we looked at celebrities. Are there no good celebrity role models out there with, you know, living well with their, you know, their partners, you know, been together for God knows how many years, and aren't there enough people in the community that are holding down great relationships, great marriages?
It's amazing you mentioned celebrities, because you'd think if people are really looking at relationships for what they are in regards to celebrities, think about the egos that there are out there in the real world. Times that by 100 when you're a celebrity, because I personally believe that the reason why there's issues with celebrity relationships is there's always one person that's on top and another person that's a little bit below, and it seems to punctuate differently all the time. There always changes. It's two artists together, and they're both singers. Maybe one person's career is doing better than the other person's career, and then jealousy will start to play its role. And I think the onus tends to be mainly on the males, tend to be affected a lot more. Males tend to want to be more successful than their female, than their partners, because it makes them feel more like a man. So you can understand in the celebrity world why there would be issues, because of all the egos that are being played consistently. If their wife or husband's in the papers more than they are, there's an issue. And you see that people in the celebrity world, there's a lot of vanity, a lot of ego involved there. So anyone that's looking at celebrities and thinking, you know what, if I looked as good as she did, then maybe he'd be faithful. Look at those relationships. They never work.
It's very true, isn't it? Because I mean, you know, you're not going to get much better looking as some of these celebrity people. They look
even though
amazing.
some of them have been made by Mr. Dr. Smith, but yeah, you're right.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's like, even I've heard some of them say, you know, like when they get in their interviews, they say, you know, people are going on about how they look, and they said, to be honest with you, when they go in the shops and see the magazines with themselves on front, they're even thinking, why? You know, even they don't look like that.
Exactly, Photoshop.
You know, young girls are trying to emulate something that is not even real, you know.
That's right.
And feeling bad, and you know, and old girls too, not just the young. I think a lot of people are buying into, and even though people know that a lot of things are not real, it's almost like they're even more buying into it than, say, back in the day when, you know, like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, when people didn't really know what was what, when people didn't really know the lives of what the celebrities were getting up to. And again, do you feel that part of the problem in the community is young people are seeing those as their new? Because, okay, we talk about, say we look at, say, years ago, people would go to church, or, you know, they'd have extended families. Do you feel like the TV with the celebrities is like the new church, the new role model, the new, you know, everything?
If you look back 30 years ago, like you said, 20, 30 years ago, look how technology has evolved since then. So it's almost like a blanket coverage of celebrity lifestyles. You know everything that they're doing when they go into the toilet, when they're having a bath, when they go to the shop. There's not any area of their life that you don't know about. And everyone wants to be celebrities these days. Like I said, everyone seems to create their own mini celebrity lifestyles on Facebook or YouTube, or there are so many different facilities out there for people to become a celebrity themselves that everyone wants to be a celebrity. And they almost perpetuate that being a celebrity essentially means wealth and happiness and so on and so on. I would say it probably brings more insecurity because you're trying to live up to something that you know is not real. And they get to experience a little bit of like what it's like to be famous or to be a celebrity, because celebrities are very insecure individuals. They need an audience. They need the applause of an audience to feel good about themselves.
So it's instead of taking from within, instead of going within and finding that self-love and finding that divine energy that's in there, they're going out there to try and find their value, to find their worth, and so if people like them, then they're happy. If someone says something nasty about them, they're in a terrible way. So they're totally
I mean, there's a whole
mercy.
on Facebook. How many friends have you got? You may look at someone's page and they may say, I've got 1,000 friends. How many people can fit 1,000 people into your life?
It's impossible, isn't it?
It's impossible. I struggle to keep up with the few friends that I mingle with. You know what I mean?
2 or 3 friends is hard for me.
Something comes up, you can't meet up on the Wednesday or whatever. The whole notion of friend is not really friends. It's almost like self-comfort, self-importance. I've got 1,000 friends. How many of you got? Oh, I've got 2,000 friends. Are these people really your friends? You know what I mean? So the whole thing is fantasy. It's not even reality. And it's almost like things that people use to make themselves feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
It's all shallow existence.
And I think as well, if you go on Facebook and it's all about, like you say, it's all about sort of putting on, this image and it's all negative. And then you've got all these so-called friends as well. It's like setting yourself up for, because if it's all negative, then it seems to me that can backfire at some point, and all these thousands of friends could, turn against, and that could be a horrible bullying situation going on. Whereas if you're on there sort of teaching or being positive or sharing, knowledge, wisdom to help people to empower themselves, I think that's a whole different thing. But I think if you're on there sort of like, look at me, and putting everybody down around you, it can't be a good thing. And as well, what's your thoughts of people finding partners on their social media?
Scary, very scary.
I like that in one word.
Yeah, it is definitely scary. It's hard enough to get to know somebody when you actually get to know them on a natural basis, where you meet the person face to face, because you can do it even on a phone call. If you meet someone just by speaking on a telephone, you're not getting to really know that real person. We are more than just the physical being. It's almost like the saying that the eyes are the windows, the soul is definitely true. You find that when someone's being sincere, they can look you in the eye and speak to you, unless they're a really good liar. But you find that someone who's got something to hide, they can't even fix it. I know that obviously you can bring for a bit shy or so on, but eventually once you become comfortable in that person's presence, you can make eye contact. If you find that the person's a little bit shifty with the eyes, you know that they're probably concealing something.
Body language, you're so true.
Body language as well. Body language as well, but I think nothing beats the eyes. The key thing. So meeting someone on social media, no. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I would say be very careful.
There's better ways of doing that.
Yeah.
How, the number one question that women want to know, how can you determine a serial cheater, a player? What, how would you say for a woman so that she doesn't end up having to go through it and then find it, how can a woman detect?
Time. Definitely time. Keep putting a cookie in a cookie jar and speaking, talking about everything, every aspect of life. Hopefully the conversation will be a bit more deeper than what came on TV last night. But if you can actually open up.
So deep talking.
And the guy's serious when you almost become his best friend. He's having problems at work, and the first person he's phoning, rather than one of his male friends, is phoning you, and you sort of like say, I think you should do that's when you know that you're getting on a deeper level.
So when a guy shares his thoughts or his...
I say friendship first, and everything else has to come afterwards. So that person becoming your friend, and obviously if the person is, you're hearing from them less and less as time goes on, you know that person was only in it because they wanted the cookie.
So is a cookie that important? I mean, people really... No, I know I'm sounding a little bit simple about this, but it's only because I'm speaking for other people as well. So, you know, is that really that one of the main things that women have to contend with in their relationships?
Where men are concerned, if a man's not serious about you, then yeah, his number one thing is the cookie. That's what he wants. But
obviously, and from what you're saying as well, it seems as though he doesn't really have to hide that too much in some quarters.
Nowadays, you can say to the girl from the get-go that this is what I'm looking for, and she'll either agree or say no to it. And a lot of times, young girls are saying yes to it. It's become acceptable to behave in the same way as a male would behave. But yet, young guys will still call her a hoe and this and that. But it's acceptable to behave in that way. And the standards have gone way down from where they used to be.
So do you...
And it's because of pressure, because the girls they're still looking for love, but
of course,
guys aren't looking for that. They're looking for someone. A lot of young guys now, they don't feel that's the done thing. You know what I mean? Maybe when I'm 20 years from now, I might think about settling down one day, but not right now. They're looking to have fun.
I suppose as well, it's always, I mean, there's that saying about the wild oats. Young men sowing the wild oats, and this is the thing as well. Young girls, young women who they might be feeling yes, I would like to have a boyfriend, but I think that's the thing to bring home to them is that yes, you might want a boyfriend to talk to or whatever, but for him at this season in his life, it is about fun and enjoying, and you have to have your wits about you and know the difference. But how can young women understand? How can we make young women understand that?
If we said to a person, if you put your hands in, everyone knows, if you put your hands in fire, you're going to get burnt. If a woman understands the kind of pain that she's going to feel when she's cheated on by a guy, she'd think more carefully about associating herself and getting involved with someone that's going to cheat. I think if people knew hindsight, then they wouldn't do certain things.
But what about when women go through these challenges again and again and again? What is going on with that particular woman then? Or is it that, is it, because I always feel as well, sometimes things get, like you were saying earlier on, things get left in your psyche or your aura or your energy field, because we all have our own, you know how you stand close to someone and you can feel their, like we talk about our personal space. So things get stuck in our personal space, I believe. And I just wonder if people then, even though yes, the situation's gone and ended, they might still be carrying a magnet that is going to draw these terrible things to them.
I agree with that 100%. I believe that you're attracted to who you are. And I don't mean
not what you want.
To be like a slate on females who have gone through bad relationships. But like I said before, if you don't love yourself and think highly enough of yourself, you're going to attract. It's almost like a guy a male is a predator, and he can sense the kind of female that he can actually mess around with, get away with certain things with. They can see them coming, and they look for specific type of female. Wow. Oh, she's got a child. You know what I mean? Yeah. Come on, she's going to need someone, man. She should be happy that I'm coming down that way. You know what I mean? They almost presume that she's not with a guy who is cheating on her. She's vulnerable. She's looking for some comfort. I'm going to play the role of the comforter, get what I want, and then I'm basically hit and run.
But
so it's so important for females to understand. It's so important to be comfortable in your own skin. Love yourself. Know how special you are. Recognize that. Remember that all the time, and don't lower your standards. Let the guy prove himself worthy. to be associated with you in regards to relationships. And enjoy yourself at the same time. A woman can have male friends. Don't worry about what the world's going to say about you. Oh, I'm sure all these different guys. You know what you're doing. You don't have to bring the guy into your home. You don't have to go to his home. Let him wine and dine you. You know what I mean? Don't believe that chivalry is dead. Bring it back. Chivalry is only dead for females because they're allowed to be dead.
Wow.
If enough females raise the bar, guys have to go back to that.
So women are in control.
They're in control.
But what if, you know, again, you hear the saying, you know, like women might say, well, if we start doing this, then they'll do something. You know, is it a case of men might say, well, okay, then if you're going to be like that, then we're going to look elsewhere, or we're going to, do you see what I'm saying? Or will they have to, you know, kind of check themselves?
If a man's looking for cookies, then yeah, he would try different things. If a man is looking for a relationship, then the serious guy who's serious about you, you will just simply see his best side, because he will work and try and show you, prove to you that he's serious about what he's doing, and he's serious about you, values you. And at the end of the day, that's what every female is looking for.
You know what I want to quickly ask you? You were just talking about women and how, you know, the value, how they might be attracting because of their low self-esteem and, you know, things like that. But what I also want to talk to, just to quickly run by you, is that professional women, a lot of professional women in the black community. I think Oprah did a talk on that, why it was very hard for black professional women, or black women who are quite, you know, well off or educated, or, you know, those types of things. They're successful in whatever it is they're doing. They struggle to have relationships. They struggle to meet men. They struggle with them, you know, they can struggle sometimes with men who don't. I think you touched on that. The men might feel inferior, want to control them or something like that. What about those people? What about those women? What can they do? Where can they meet the man of their caliber, or, you know, how can they sort of take a relationship and you know, find happiness?
I think what tends to happen with a lot of females as well, when they become successful, they allow that success to take away from their gentleness, that sort of feminine side that a woman would have without that so-called financial clout. Because there's almost like, obviously in the days gone by, a woman wouldn't really be fishing in those kind of waters. They were like the homemakers and so on. So now they almost take on a more of a masculine side,
because they're competing. They're competing
makes them become a little bit
yeah.
less attractive to a lot of males. I say the femininity is still remains, but again, the standard does not lower. Then obviously she will attract someone like-minded, because there are males out there that are looking for women who are successful in their own right. A lot of males criticise the fact that women are looking for a man to provide for them, but yet you hear the terminology equal rights, but yet women are talking about, oh, the man's got to have this, he's got to have that. And I think if you're a successful woman, the man that you meet doesn't have to be equally successful.
No.
Specifically black men as well. When you bear in mind that, that's another topic, another day, but when you bear in mind the struggles and the challenges that black men have to go through in regards to, you know, make it in this world, in regards to success, finances and careers and so on. It's very, very challenging for black males. So many black females, they may find that there's a lot less men out there that are successful like they are. So for that reason, they have to maybe be flexible on that count. It doesn't mean they have to lower their standards. Maybe the man's earning less money, but his heart's in the right place.
Because there's a lot, you know, there's a lot of ways to give, isn't it? It doesn't always have to be that you're giving in monetary terms. There's many ways a person can give and you know, show love to another person.
I mean, what woman wants to be in the penthouse and there's no one to share it with?
Well, this is
all the trappings of success, but you're by yourself every day. I don't think any woman wants that.
Not at all. That's a very good answer, and that's a very big problem out there as well. David, I don't know if you've heard that yourself.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. And you know what? It takes a bigger man as well to be able to be with a woman who's earning more than he's earning, and to still keep his manhood, and to still have that self-pride, to still have the the presence of a king in the castle still, and respecting that woman and loving that woman. She comes home from a high-powered job, and he's maybe cooked her a meal or whatever, because maybe he's got more time on his hands than she has. And if he's good with his hands, he's put up shelves or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very attractive thing. If a man, anytime men, men can do things. Oh my God!
He plays his role like he said.
Yeah, so, I think that's a very attractive thing where if men can do things, they've got these traits where they can, like you say, put up shelves and just practical and make things nice. And I think that's a very, very great, very good trait. Wow, I don't know. We've really kind of we've gone way over, because I think you were only planning to come on for about 45 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the talk, and what I'm really excited about is that this is not the end of it. You will be coming back. But what I want you to do now really is just share your, if you've got a website, if you've got a number that people, or an email that people can reach you on.
Definitely. My website is www.davidshilohoutreach.com.
Can you spell the surname?
What Shiloh?
Yeah, just in case. I know.
Yeah, David Shiloh. So Shiloh is SHILOH, and it's outreach.com.
Outreach.
And I specialise in working with young people who have been kicked out of mainstream education. I also work with families as well, single parents, and so on. And I've also got a telephone number as well. My business number is 07 469 874 686.
Can you repeat that again, please, David?
07 469 874 686.
Wow, that's great. I mean, you've dropped so many gems, and you've even opened up, some of your own past as well, and shared with us, which I really appreciate. And no doubt when you come on, over the next shows that we're going to do together, we'll be able to go deeper and further into. But this is like the kind of intro show, so that people can kind of know what's to come. But definitely, I've enjoyed it, and I wonder, if you've got a few words, I'd like you to really just share with women, with people, because I think people are hurting. Both men and women are hurting. It's not an easy time, and like you say, it's not been easy for people of black people in the Western world, and we've not sometimes made it easy for ourselves. But if you've got a few words that you'd like to share with people,
I'd like to end by saying that I want all the sisters out there, all the black queens out there, to understand that you are queens. If you have 2 children, 3 children, 4, if there's more than one father, you're still a queen.
Absolutely.
It's just that you've not yet found your king. And for all the black males out there, there's a lot of kings out there that don't know who they are. So they're playing different roles that don't fit. And basically, eventually, over time, if they don't wake up and realize that they are kings and that there are queens out there that need them, and that the community needs strong males, it's gonna be a very sad end. And if we look around at the young people at the moment to see the way they're behaving and how lost they are, we as a people have to take responsibility for that. So I must say I really enjoyed myself today. Just reminding, I love the music as well. So I don't give you enough respect for the music. It was excellent. You dropped some gems today, girl. So all good.
Thank you so much, and definitely looking forward to you coming on. I think your next show is probably going to be sometime in September. Can we?
Problem. Whenever you want me to come on, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm happy to come on again.
Yeah, I can't wait. It was great, and you definitely opened up the Imani Speak show in a more real talk way. We've not really done a lot of this type of talk.
We need real talk. We like to party. Nothing wrong with partying. Partying is great. We like to party, but I think we need to stop looking at celebrities, stop thinking just on a physical term and on a materialistic term, and let us think a little bit deeper, because naturally we're spiritual people, we're spiritual beings, and we're not in our natural habitat, so we've become disenfranchised and confused, and we don't even know what we stand for anymore. You know, even when we talk about culture, we don't really have a culture. We have certain what's what I'm looking for? Things that we used to do, rituals and little patterns of behaviour that we've done that we brought from the Caribbean or from another country. And bear in mind that all these places that we come from, they were all colonised places anyway. So our natural, historical, natural habitat, we were taken from that a long, long time ago. So it's only right that we should expect that we're going to see these broken pieces. And what we're talking about today is broken pieces.
And I know we're wrapping up the show, but spiritual, I mean, you know, with all these problems, how important would you say, David, having some type of spiritual affinity or some spiritual practice can help people?
The spiritual side, the God side of me is what made me change. I was brought up in a spiritual home anyway, but coming back to that is what changed me and made me appreciate a woman and what a woman really is. A life bearer, someone that was put on this earth to be cherished by us men and to be respected, and that's how we bring life into the world. So my perception on it, the way I see a female right now, is completely different than I did, say, 10 years ago. Massively so, and it's the God complex that I've got that's changed that. When you have that, it's much more easy to go to transition from being lost and to being found. Is that God complex. And also for everybody, it's not going to be the same situation. Just respecting yourself a lot more and seeing yourself in a higher light can also be it. But for me, it was definitely the God aspect.
Because I do agree. I do feel spiritual, some type of spiritual leaning, you know, where you're practicing and you believe in something greater than yourself, is going to help you to deal with all these challenges in your life. Whereas if it's just the little ego self dealing with these, you're bound to fail.
Right.
So I totally agree with that. And again, you know, in the community, would you say, I know we're wrapping up and all these questions, you know, these are going to have to be for another show now, but would you say, what can the community, what can the older folks do for the younger people, you know, even in a small way, you know, just starting tomorrow?
Rather than judge the young people and say they're so bad, they're so terrible these days, ask yourself a question: did they create themselves, or did they not come from somewhere? And then ask yourself who's responsible. And that old proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. No, that needs to be brought back into fashion. And I think if more of us practice that and be available to speak to the young people and understand, try to look into their perspective and how they came about and how their pattern of behaviour has come about, and all the distractions and the misinformation and miseducation that they're getting, but not just from the media, by the way, but in the school system as well.
Yes. I mean, we definitely need to do a whole show on the education and what it's doing to children, especially in the work that you're doing with the kind of children that you're dealing with.
Yeah,
we need to have a show dedicated to that, because our children are, you know, the children in this community particularly are really falling through the net, and that definitely, you know, I cannot have a platform like this and not bring that to light and find some solutions, you know, in terms of talking, because, you know, I feel things first start with a conversation, and then it goes out and out, and then it becomes manifested as trying to solve the problem. So definitely we will be going into that on, you know, subsequent shows. But David, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I wish you a fantastic week ahead, to yourself and your lovely wife. And yeah, I don't know, I'll leave you with a last word if you want to say anything more.
Peace, love and blessings to all that were listening, and I hope that even one person got something out of today's topic, then I'm happy.
Fantastic. We're going to play out with Chronic's Rastaman Wheel Out.
Excellent. I will start jigging to that then.
You take care. Speak to you soon. Thank you so much. Peace and love. Bye.
Oh, ja.
Is what no, mama?
The peas burn up.
John will start
You mean the peas burn up? Yeah. It's like this team has too much fear, you know, because I could have. That make I couldn't even remember something upon channels. I'm gonna have to go face Babylon on a Sunday like this. It's where more late.
The same place I always keep it, man.
See all you now. Channel. Go up on the road, go deal with all Babylon right away. Sunday I have plans to go up on the road, you know. Look upon your creation, man. Rastafari, no.
Yeah.
Rastafari. Give thanks and praise, you know. Ready to go face old Babylon, you know.
Remember the peas, brethren?
Yes, man. Link all the one tall this stuff, man. Talis. What going?
I'm on there still in it.
So I'm telling you, down there we have fly. I don't need that, you know.
You know, I can only give the eye 50% of that right now.
50%. I will take that still. Hurry up.
And I have a good jar.
I will take that too. Sure.
So what are you up to?
You know what I'm saying? And daughter steam this morning and the peas I forget you know the midst of all things, you know. And it burn up, so I gotta look some peas up there.
Well, shut on.
I give thanks, you know. Bless thee.
Yes.
Roots. Bless thee. Yes, sir, you mean? Good?
Yeah, man, we're there, you know.
Yeah, man, give thanks, man. So, how do I am stay?
Well, you know.
I make a wheel go up the road,
Yes,
you know? Don't watch no face.
Don't watch no face.
Sure.
Yeah, man.
Hey, on a tough man. What go on, brethren and brethren? Yeah, man, bless thee, man. What go on?
I know I have to prepare for a session later.
Yeah, so now play for?
Group man named Chronics.
Chronics?
Yes, sir.
Oh, are you there? I'm going good enough. Yeah,
So,
man, I give thanks.
First, I put some of the herb that I have now.
Oh, you know, see, I have her.
You can't hide the smell.
Okay.
It's strong, strong.
You know, give thanks and praise same speed, you know, hold it. I mean,
Love the aroma.
give thanks and praise. So I tried to go up the hills, I say, you know?
Guidance, man. Protection.
Nice easy segment season with trampled beast. Mr. Officer Man, what you want from me? Ease out. And himself, Rastaman Vilo. I know you have it there. Rastaman Vilo. And come over here. Then I say, Officer, ease out. Don't you have no fear. Officer, ease out and don't you get me by my ear. I was yachting down the lane, and I buck up in a old blue scene. And he asked how my eyes so red. I say it's the good old Cali green. And him say, Rastaman Vilo, I know you have it there. Rastaman Vilo, and say come over here. And I say, Officer, ease out.
Hey, you dreadlock boy. Yeah, Ras, we're trying to stop you. Who are you? You don't respect the law when the law says stop you.
See my ear up tight like a Taliban. And him sure say me got it, man. And him a search for a spliff, couldn't find it. Never know say me is a chalice man. This is a recent thing and an chronic one. This is a ancient tradition. It is a gift to the wise and a long time. Them a steam in Afghanistan, India and Pakistan. Not to mention Africa. The best indeed in a West Indies. Burn shining by the rivers of Babylon. Westmoreland, everybody swat. We send a brain for a magic cup. So Mr. Officer make we talk, yeah, because of the same one in a chronic spot. And I don't know you're going to work it out the rest of my life. See, I've been steaming from morning till my eyes got red, and I don't got no more. Can I do for myself? Rastaman be low, I know you have it there. Rastaman be low, come over here. And I say, officer, ease out, don't you have no fear. Officer, ease out and don't be judge me by my hair. Rastaman, what can you do for me? Me say, Rastaman be low, I know you have it there. Rastaman be low, come over here. And I say, officer, ease out, don't you have no fear. Officer, ease out and don't you judge me by my hair. Regular walking pants on the morning, everything nice and easy. Me just trotting, figure me yard, figure put on my rice and peas. One more to sneak up the road with me and the old blue sea. All inspector pump get grease, ready so DC, don't disturb my peace.
Box cover the eye, front eye.
Just cool, man. No weak car challenge design, it's just high, man.
So the eye is sweat, so.
You want to see some Babylon boy run down eye, I'll dash your eye, please. You see, I don't know why I'm going to tell I embrace.
So jump on the nut and boat the car carrier.
Sure.
That's all right.
God, them are running eye down.
How many of you like to run so fast, man? Yo, look at that.
Right, kings and queens, I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm getting good feedback from people that it's been a great show. I really enjoyed it. It's my first real talk, you know, where we talking about real issues in the community, and really talking to people who's out there doing the work and making a difference to people's lives. So thank you so much, David, for coming on, and I'm really looking forward to doing more shows with you. And thank you very much, listening audience. Thank you so much for listening. To stay tuned in and you know, being part of, even though you're the silent listeners or what have you. You know, you are making a difference to how the quality of the show and the presence, you know, that comes through. So thank you so much. But remember, I will be back on Thursday and with another show. Don't know if I've got a guest this Thursday. I'm not sure about that. But I will be here. The music will be here, and we'll definitely be putting through some positive words from people, from the greats on whose shoulders we stand. But anyway, as usual, have a great week. I love you. I want the best for you. Remember to do small acts of kindness. It always comes back to you multiplied. Be good to yourselves. Remember that you're a person too. We get told, you know, be good to people, be good to people. But remember, you are a person too. Be good to yourself. Love yourself. Speak positive things to yourself. You know, fill your mind. You know, our self-talk can be so negative. Sometimes the way we talk to ourselves, if we talk to other people like that, it would be absolutely, you know, unacceptable. So remember to love yourself first. Give yourself the oxygen first, and then you can give to everybody else. So I'm out of here. I'm going to play out with some more chronics and have a good week ahead. Thank you.
Mr. Chronics freestyle for party time to the world.
Ease out, and I say cycle and cease now. Let me trample the beast now. I mean, ease out. Run it.
Rhythm.
Whoa, 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 hey. Whoa, 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 and I say we be forever loving God. King Selassie will be forever loving God. I give me the one drop beat and I'm a you. Let me talk from me heart. No pretend
everybody say cool. Once again.
Nice from them drop it again. We have to give them a different style. I don't know. And so once a man, twice a child. Ah, boy. Baby, the clouds are gray, but I'm gonna have a happy day. Can't live so late. And I'll be there all day. Why, oh, why, is that? Listen, me no daughter. Listen. I know you're tired of the stress and the strain and the city life. Come make we drink jelly water. Yes, I. Darling, make we make a narrow escape from the hustle and the bustle tonight. And I don't know where you wanna go, but I'm willing to take you there. Girl, just be who you wanna be. Once you're with me, baby, I've no fear. So much beautiful things to see. Girl, don't waste your life. And there is only one love to give. Girl, we now waste no time. And I don't know if I beach or if I riverside. Hey, but I wanna take you somewhere tonight. And I don't know if I beach or if I riverside. Hey, and I don't know if I hill or valley. But I beg you come chill with chronics tonight. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why. I said if you put down the book them, yes girl, yes girl. Exam done from last week and me sure say you pass. Girl, put on a short stretch your foot them, yes girl. Where we are going, it's not that far. Park the car and make we take a walk. And I don't know where you wanna go, but I'm willing to take you there. When I know if I bike or a bicycle, but baby come let me take you somewhere. And I don't know where you wanna go. Girl, come with me, love. So much things to see, so many things to see. And I don't know if I beach or if I riverside. But I wanna take you somewhere tonight, Lord, yeah. Because me see it in your eye, me say me see it in your eyes. I say you're tired of the 9 to 5, plus the boss boy have you in a overdrive. But me say that fireman you like your vibe, so make me take you to the forest figure sightsee. Chilling on the beach with you beside me. The paparazzi ask if you want me wifey. Where you are go tell them me get them me get. Whoa, and I don't know where you wanna go, but I'm willing to take you there. But I know if I bike or a bicycle, but baby come let me take you somewhere. And I don't know where you wanna go. Girl, come with me, love. So much things to see, so much things to see. And I don't know if I beach or if I riverside. Hey, but I wanna take you somewhere tonight, darling. And I don't know if I beach or if I riverside. I mean I know if I hill or valley. Come chill with chronics tonight. Why, oh, why, oh, why, why, oh, why. Yes, I where she from, she tell me in the tropics. She asked me what's my name, I tell her I am Connie. And I said, girl, tell me what's your name. And she tell me that her name is Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Ooh, Lord, smile for me, Jamaica. And never you cry, here am I. Yeah, I'm here for you, Jamaica. Dry your eyes, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. Lord, hey, she have a rich history. A beautiful woman with the sweetest gifts. Beautiful sunrise and an evening kiss of a nice sunset on the evening season. But she tell me, say she tired. Tired of the exploit and the liars. She give them reggae, give them beaches, give them flowers and the ferns. All she got is abuse in return. But I say, don't you worry yourself, mama. Hey, Chronix is here to your help, mama. Ooh, I said, no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me, I beg you do for me. And I say, smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Hey, smile for me, Jamaica. Never you cry, here am I. Girl, I'm here for you, Jamaica. What must I try? Oh, my. That she asked me, and this is what me say. A sweet, sweet Chronix, you forgive them, give them. The one drop beat pan a rhythm. Are you give them bob with a different stepping? Are you give them bolt, nobody can run left him. Boy, but see ya, they must see things, say you're out of ideas. You give them art and sweet literature. You're gonna make the world see the better picture. I said, no worry yourself, mama. Chronix is here to your help, mama. Hey, I said, no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me, I beg you do. And I said, smile, yeah, smile, boy. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile, wah, 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 wah. For me, Jamaica. Never you cry, here am I. And I said, smile, boy, they don't know, and I said they don't know, oh boy, they see me smile, but they don't know what I feel inside. But they don't know what I feel inside. They see the dancing, them see the performance. Enough people see me life and want one, but them no know say more time it look dormant. And them no see say I'm me belly me a crawl pan. My mama just called me with tears in her eyes. She never know me have a stage show tonight. Not even she see the fears in my eyes. But me just a go and put on the show. Cause they don't know, yeah. They don't know, oh, but they see me smile, but they don't know what I feel inside. Only you know, only I know, Jah. They see me smile, but they don't know what I feel inside. Yes, in at the boiling sun, putting it on the street. Righteous music, me putting it on the beat. But nothing no righteous about how life said. If you no know hard life, then you no know life yet. Because my papa just call me poverty, make him a screw. Him never know, say me have an interview. But me still have to put on the show. Because they don't know, I said they don't know, yeah. They don't know, they see me smile, but they don't know what I feel inside. Yes, so long me make me ball, long me make me cry, cause they don't know what I feel inside. Long me make me ball, leave me make me cry. Yes, oh, and I say long me make me ball, long me make me cry, cause only I know, yes, Jah, yes, only I know. Them say, Canics come on the stage, show and done it. Him and him bandsman friend, them bunny. But them never know, say I one shirt. Me have to wash it and me have to sun it. Them say me take the stage off. Them say me lyrics, them a flow. But them never know, say we have to work hard in a 6 feet of snow. They don't know. They don't know. They see me smile, but they don't know.